I'm ATGREY. Welcome to my Brickadia tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at the environment settings within Brickadia. So to access this, very quickly just hit I on the keyboard. This will bring up the settings. Obviously what we have is an option: the sky and night, weather, fog, ground, water and ambience. So we've got quite a lot we can play with and change. If we start with sky, you can adjust this up and down. This will literally change the time of day within the world. Obviously we have the option, we can animate that time of day. So if we come in here, you can manually enter the time you want, or you can just drag and drop the time. So we can actually literally, come out of that one, let's drag that back down. 30 seconds for the time of day. If you animate it, you can see it very quickly runs, and you can see the impact in the world. So you can have very quick day and night cycles. Obviously you can do different lengths, which is great. So you obviously have a longer night or a longer day, depending on what you want in your world, if you want animated time. So it's you can just let it cycle through. So you can see it'll come back to life in a minute, and we should have a little bit of sunrise coming on. So it's just taking its time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. So you can see a 30-second cycle is quite quick. Obviously we can play with quite a few other controls. Let's say it's, here we go, a little bit of sunrise. So it works nicely to animate it. So say set up for about midday-ish. Obviously sun angle alters the angle of the sun within the world, where it's going to rise, where it's going to set. So obviously again you can move the sun around. You can see it just moving at the top there. So actually if I drop the sun down, let's have a little bit of it's hiding in the background. So obviously you can swing the sun around. You can see it on the water reflecting. So you can swing it around the other side. You can really highlight where you are, so bring it back round. So you always create a nice backdrop with the sun on it. It's great. Sun scale is always a good one. Let's just bring that sun back behind the thing. Obviously sun scale, you can have a very small sun, or you can actually really rank it up. Where you've got a really bright world like this, you end up with a very big sun. Now the interesting part is if you want to play with the sun horizon scale, so where you've got the sun, if you can get the sun down to near the horizon, so let's just dip it into the water. We can kind of swing the sun around the back, but then obviously what we can do is we can scale that sun right up, and then you can actually create a massive great sun if you bring it right the way on the horizon. So your world's very bright. Again, obviously you can change, so you can create some very kind of out of this world worlds by playing with sun scale and the kind of horizon scale to where you want the sun. Obviously great thing here is you can also play with colour, so you can have a blue sun for a change. Obviously you can see it cools it down a little bit. So the great thing is, again, green sun if you want to play outer world, so you can change the whole feel and the whole tone of the sun. So you can control the various percentages, so you can create some quite interesting effects just by having that. And obviously with water in it reflects quite nicely, so you can kind of roll the sun around and create. So you can create, I'd say, some good outer world type ones. Change the landscape. Yes, sun intensity. Obviously, it is what it says. You can make your sun a little bit duller. And so effects just take a few seconds to kind of affect, so you don't have such brightness, or you can really crank it up and go supernova on it and find your sunglasses. So it's, I'll say for me, I like it just down below the 100%, just gives a little bit of shade on it. Sky colour again, let's say let's get that back to more of a white. So you can switch it back to a little bit of sunrise. So if you want to go to the day, obviously you can change your sky colours, so you can create a nice kind of, you can have a reddish hue to the sky, green. I say great for if you want to create kind of outer worlds and things like this, so you can alter the sunset, everything to suit. So we go back to a little bit of a blue sky. Just in there, turn our sun down a little bit because it's a bit bright and a bit big at this moment. So you just sit the sun back there. So that's obviously the daytime, which is great. Basically what you can do, if we switch it to night, then basically sky at night, we have moon phases, moon scale, so we could crank up. We can do the same with the moon. We can increase the scale of the moon, which is great. But also then we can actually change the moon phases, so you can have the different phases of the moon, which is actually brilliant. I say you don't often see that in games. Normally it's one or the other, so you can actually get some really good feels. Again, moon intensity, you can crank up the brightness of the moon, which obviously changes at times depending on how much sunlight hits it. Again, moonlight colour you can change, so you can get some really good kind of a little bit of a red moon. Absolutely lovely. So you can change this around to give it, so you can actually, if you drop the moon intensity down, what's really good then, like I say, you can obviously crank up the stars intensity a little bit, max it out at 15%, so you get a really nice kind of starry night. Again, star colours you can actually alter, make them a little bit redder, so you've got a little bit more of a kind of red sky at night. So, just like I say, play. The best thing is playing with these settings, just exploring what can be done. And then you've got your aurora. I haven't actually played with this much, but I'm not quite sure how visible it is on this one, whether it's a time of day issue. But this one, yeah, I haven't been able to kind of work out exactly how this works fully yet. But let's turn the stars down a little bit. So this one definitely to explore a little bit more. So obviously the sky at night. Let's come back. We stick it back into daylight a little bit. Whoops, come on back. Somewhere, yeah, about midday. Then we can get into the great fun of weather. So obviously cloud coverage. We've got a little bit of clouds in the background. We can slowly grow that up. Obviously the more cloud you have, the gloomier it gets. So obviously you can see the impact of cranking up the clouds to get this lovely kind of gloomy feel. Obviously cloudy day, we might as well add some rain to it. Obviously with rain you can see the misty hazy rain. Now further down you do have rain volume, so you could have a light shower, or you could really crank it up to a lovely storm conditions. Again, great for playing. And you hear the sound effect of the rain, you can hear the sound also as it comes through, which is really cool on here. So obviously medium bit of rain, let's crank that rain down. But again, obviously then we can crank up snow and we can turn it a little bit chilly. So obviously you've got good effects here. Wind you can add in here. Obviously you can actually start cranking up the wind speed, things like this, and turn it into quite a nice blizzard, which is quite good. And so if you want to crank, you can play with the angle of the wind, which obviously you can face a nice driving, crank it to about 90 degrees, and you can have a nice driving snowstorm you're working your way through. So you can create some really good effects just by playing around with the wind and there's various settings, the wind angles. So like I say, a lot of this is literally playing with it, I think is the key thing, but it's good to kind of work through. So obviously crank off the snow. Now I love dust. Dust is quite a good one to play because I say you get that real feeling of it being a very dusty environment. Obviously again, wind affects it, you can slow it down, so it's just more of a calm thing, but then you can really crank it up. And obviously with a driving wind, you get it coming towards you, you've got a real dust storm you got to fight through. Again, what happens, you can see the background blurs out a little bit, and it creates that lovely atmosphere. Obviously we'll drop our dust storm off for a minute, and I think we'll crank down our wind as it's a little bit windy, and our clouds slow down very nicely. Obviously next thing up is you can crank up the thunder and you'll start seeing the lightning appear. Obviously close lightning, if you've got that ticked on, you can see the lightning in the background start appearing, and you've got this real roar of thunder coming through. So it's kind of, you start seeing the effects on that. Obviously you can add in your rain and you can create your thunderstorms. So you crank out cloud coverage and just make it a really, really old grey day. So it's very pleasant out in this world. Great thing at cloud speed again, so you can obviously crank up the cloud speed, so you've got movement in the clouds. So a lot of this is just kind of playing, get that feel for what you want with it. So as I say, it's a great set of controls. Obviously rain volume, You can have distant thunder, so you can kind of make it quite close, quite heavy on top of you. So obviously the lightning gets closer, which is great fun and games. But yeah, it's just simple little effects, but it makes it feel so good within this world, which is really cool. So I think let's dry this world up a little bit and get rid of some thunder. So you just crank these down and just crank the cloud speed off. Oops, back up there. Make it a bit more of a social, calm day in this world, which is lovely. So obviously, yeah, I say cloud speed. Obviously, you can crank up the cloud speed, but you need it. If you're going to do that, you do need a little bit of wind to go with it to get them moving. So obviously, it's just gives you a lovely effect. And I say with being able to change the colour of the sky, everything else, you can get some beautiful colours. So yeah, from there, obviously, we have the good old fun and games. We can always add a little bit of fog in here. So obviously, you can crank it up and make it actually very foggy until you totally black out on this one. And so obviously cloudy fog, I say, which is a bit more of a distant fog, so you can see it a bit more in the background, which is nice. Obviously, with clear fog, you can actually get the. So if you crank your fog up, you can actually alter your fall off on the fog. So you can kind of create that foggy layer you see kind of across the hills and things like this, which is, you know, really good. You can kind of set this so you could have your mountains just appearing within the fog, which is really nice. And the same again if you got cloudy fog up, you can crank that one up. Get rid of a clear fog, and then you just crank up like a cloudy fog. You can create that kind of distant fog level, just lurks in the background. And again, you have the choice of, you can create, kind of play with your fog colours. It's better on close-up fog actually. It's you tend to see it better. So you can oops, give it a cloudy fog height, thank you. So yeah, you can kind of just tweak around your fog colours. And I say the changes are more subtle when you're playing with fog. So normally it's better, like I say, sky tends to be the better colour to play with. Right. Oops, I better just reset that, because otherwise you're not going to see a lot. Right, let's get rid of our fog. So with fog gone, ground. Obviously, at the moment, we can't see the ground because I have water running. So first job, let's whoops. Go. Thank you, water. So now you see what I did. I turned the ground off. So obviously here, you'd normally see the studded texture. Because of the size of this one, you don't actually see it, but it's a green studded pattern. So you can turn the studded texture off to get a nice smooth level. I say again, yeah, I don't know if I can pick it up on this one. So obviously pattern intensity, you can see the changes here. So you can, it creates a lovely pattern surface if you need a good pattern surface. Pattern size, obviously you can change it. Again, it just provides that texture to the floor. So you've got a mix of colours, it's not all just blank green. Obviously primary ground colour, you could change it to a lovely red. I say go for a kind of martiony surface here. Maybe mix in a, whoops, ground accent colour. Come on, pick it up. Why are you not giving me an accent colour? Okay. Maybe I need it on the text. Interesting. Not sure why it's not giving me an accent colour. But again, obviously you should be able to kind of change these ones around. Don't have, it looks like no option on that one. So yeah, so you can change and just generally play with the ground thing. Is visibles quite useful, especially if you're going to be moving into playing basically with water. Obviously water height, you can crank it up. So I'll say it's quite sensitive, I found. Let's get into that one. So, oops, let's reset that. No, better. So obviously you can see the water, and suddenly you find yourself underwater if you're not quick. So obviously you can just play around with the water levels. What I love in the water, obviously you get a lovely reflection, so you can kind of tweak this to a good height, and say with ground turned off, so if you come back to ground, turn ground on, you can see the texture underneath. So you could create a level, or if you wanted to create that darker water effect, then basically just turn ground is visible off, and you get a lovely kind of dark water level, which is really cool on this one. So yep, again, you can change the colours, change the scattering of light, fog intensity. So let's get underneath that, and you can see the kind of fog difference with underwater. So obviously you can see it there. You can create that kind of pea soup, so it's quite deep. You got fog color, again ambient strength, so you can change the brightness of the fog in the water. So you've got quite a lot to play with on the fog colors and things like that underwater. So again, you can kind of move it to a redder, a brownier thing, or take it to a lovely shade of green. So you know, you've got good kind of control. Again, becomes quite intense when you're playing with this. So it's just working with these to find what really suits the feel for your build. So yep, so let's come back out of the water. It's getting a bit wet under there. Right, so yeah, obviously you can see some of these effects. Really, you can really bring your world to life. Obviously the last thing is ambience. This tends to be, you can play with kind of interior, exterior, so you've got different sound effects. Obviously, as you can hear, a little bit of light construction going on in the middle of nowhere. Obviously, a little bit of gentle forest. You can add reverb to it, so you just create different sounds. Should be some crickets cricketing somewhere. Very quiet crickets. And a few birds tweeting in the forest. So you can just add little bits of effects, just a little bit of ambience in there. So windy forest. So they're subtle, which is really nice. So obviously you've got music on top. You can pick these up really well. Obviously, and windy mountains. Well, it's whistling through the winds. So yeah, I say again, it's great just to be able to add cities, courtyards. So you can just add in these additional sound effects. And again, interior, underwater. Obviously gives you that kind of underwater echo, which is really nice. Oh, this elevator shaft, so you've got a little bit of that kind of shaft things. So yeah, these are basically just explore kind of vehicles also. So, I mean, abstract is just a little bit of electrical kind of background noise. Great for eerie atmospheres if you want something like, if you're doing like spaceports and stuff like that. So I'm going to clear that lot. So you got no sound effects on it. Now obviously what you want to do, you can set presets. Now what I've done is I've gone through the Discord. You can find loads of different presets within there. And the great thing with these, once they're set, shouldn't have picked that one because that's virtually all black. But obviously you could set like a black and white preset, apart from the red cube, for some reason shows up. But yeah, downpour. Obviously you can see the effects on the lights here. Lovely tranquility. So presets are really good if you can set presets up. Great thing is you can use a preset, but then you can alter the time of day and things like that within that preset too. So, you know, you can still just tweak that preset to what you want it to be. So it just gives some good ideas. I say there's quite a lot of different ones within here. So you can see lose the ground on this one. So, you know, there's, again, some really kind of a vibrant night one. Depends where your sun is. You can kind of tweak it around. You can see kind of the redness of the sky on this one. So you can find some really cool presets. Again, I'll say my favourite one, I love the bit of the sunrise. It gives you a lovely kind of feeling across the water. Bright background sky. Or I've got a nice kind of tranquil one. Just a nice easy one to work with. It's great for building. I love, you know, this background for me is great when I'm building. So you can actually do it. Now you may want to actually go in, okay, let's kind of tweak one around. Make it a bit longer. So you kind of swing the sun around a little bit in this world. I'm going to put it somewhere over there so you get a nice bit of reflection. So I want to change my sunlight colour. Let's make it add a bit of a purple haze to it. So the thing is, you can do it when you're happy with what you've got. You can just save new preset, ask you to enter a name. So I can do a simple name on it, hit enter, and that is now done. So up in my list, so if I go to my sunrise, I can literally come back and I've got my purple preset. So you can just very quickly kind of switch between different sets, try things out. Obviously, as you say, loads available on Discord. If you want to get those, basically what you can do is download them from Discord, and then you can just bring them in, load them into a folder which is in the Brickadia presets environment. It's where you want to in your app data, load them into there, and basically they will then appear within your list. So you know, you can easily add different presets to it. So yeah, I mean, this is, and when you're done, I'll say you can just obviously you could switch back to a default. That's your standard default. So I have my personal choice. Obviously you can download when you're in presets. I say you can actually download these, or you can overwrite them or delete them. So, and you can rename them. So you know, you've got options within here too. So it's great. I say it gives you lots of flexibility. So yeah, basically that is how you play with environments in Brickadia. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for your time. There'll be another tutorial coming out soon. Thank you. Bye for now.